Happy National Championship Day, everybody. Going to be a great one tonight. Michigan taking on Washington. So in this video, we're going to talk about a question that I've been prompted a lot over the last month. Does Nebraska have a legit chance to make the college football playoff in 2024 and beyond with Dylan Raiola at quarterback? And we'll talk about why this may or may not be valid for the Cornhuskers. So before we get into it, if you like the content, please hit the like button on this video, along with subscribing to the channel. We have had 20 straight days of 20 Husker videos, and we're just getting started, folks. So if you like it, please hit the like button along with subscribing. But let's start this one off. The college football playoff in Nebraska. When was the last time you heard that in the same sentence? Probably never, but it instantly becomes a lot more realistic if you're a Nebraska fan. Obviously, you enter one of the best talents we've seen come from high school recruiting in a very long time in Dylan Raiola. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's talk about the obvious. For the longest time, the college football playoff was a 4-team playoff. You had to have been one of the elite teams to make it, basically undefeated. No longer will that be the case. You will start to see teams who are 10-2, 11-1 make the playoffs regularly. This instantly gives anybody a better chance to make the playoffs. So that's one of my first things for Nebraska is that, hey, it really becomes more realistic. If you were to win the games you need to win on your schedule, you become one of those contenders that can make the playoff. But at the same time, also, with obviously everything changing in college football, you have to take it with a grain of salt, given the Big Ten is getting a lot harder for Nebraska. You add Oregon, who was stellar this year. You add Washington, who might win the national championship tonight. You add USC. You add UCLA. These are top-tier programs. These aren't easy wins by any stretch of imagination. And they're also placed perfectly where they can dominate their state in recruiting. You know, USC is always going to get 5 stars, folks. That's always going to be the case. Same with Oregon, same with Washington. They dominate their state, and their state produces a lot of good high school players. So you basically take it and you get back what's going on right here, right? You get a benefit of the playoff expanding to 12 teams, but you also get hurt because you're going to play a lot harder of a schedule. So that's the first thing. The second thing when we start to talk about Nebraska making the playoff is the fact that I believe you have a 3-year window, and that's the Dylan Raiola window. He's going to be here for 3 years, folks. If he's here for any more than that, something went critically wrong. He is not going to redshirt. He's going to play off the bat as our quarterback one. He will be a 3-year player, and then he will go to the NFL. That's how these elite prospects work. We saw it from Trevor Lawrence. We saw it from Justin Fields. We saw it from Bryce Young. You can just keep going down the list. These guys stay for 3 years and they leave. That's how these top-end, top-5 recruit quarterbacks work. So you have a 3-year window. And if it's not next year, it needs to be in the next 2. That instantly basically sets the shape up for how this conversation is going to go. Can Nebraska make the playoff in the next 3 years with conference realignment and with the 12-team playoff? Well, there's a 5-year plan that I believe Matt Rhule needs to follow, and if these 5 things happen, you will absolutely make the college football playoff if you're Nebraska. And I know a lot of people are going to come on me and say, wow, Wilson, I mean, that's just jumping all the way. We haven't even made a bowl game in 7 years. I understand that, but everything changes the second you have an elite quarterback, and I believe Dylan Raiola is very, very close to generational. He will be a top 10 quarterback the second he steps in Memorial Stadium for the first time. So here's my 5-step plan for Matt Rhule. Number 1, and this is a no-brainer, folks, recruit at a high level. I'm talking top 20 classes every single year. And also, get some 5 stars. Dylan Raiola was nice. The first 5-star we have landed since the mid-2000s. Okay, but you have to get more of them. Having 4 stars is really nice. Having top 200 players is really nice, but you got to get the best of the bunch. And you got to have these constant top 20 classes. Okay, we've seen some good recruiting classes for Nebraska in the last couple of years. Do not get me wrong, but they're not elite. They're not top end. We're still getting out-recruited by schools in the Big Ten. We're still getting out-recruited by most schools in the SEC. So number 1, and that's an obvious, if Matt Rhule wants to build this the old school way like he's insisted upon doing, you need to recruit a high level. That's number 1 to make the college football playoff. Currently, Nebraska is doing just that. Number 2, plug in needed transfers. Going along what I was just talking about, Matt Rhule has insisted that he's not going to take that many transfers. He'll take a couple, 3, 4, 5 every class, but not that many. He's just going to plug in things that we need, right? Just like free agency in the NFL. The draft builds your team. You're just going to plug in some missing holes through free agency. Same thing Matt Rhule is doing. That's all fine and dandy. It just means you have to hit on everybody you land. Let's look at who Matt Rhule landed when he just got here. Jacob Hood. Who is that guy, right? Georgia offensive lineman, was critically overweight when he got on campus. Joshua Fleeks is another guy who did get playing time but was not a very quality addition. He needs to land on all these guys. We need to stop seeing these project players who may or may not work out in the transfer portal. That's what you do recruiting for. That's what you do high school recruiting for, to get projects. The portal is used for getting guys who you know are going to be productive right away. We have seen a lot of players come through this program and just not do anything through the transfer portal, right? Corey Collier is a great example of this. Kane Williams is a great example of this. Tyreek Williams, I could keep going on. Elijah Judy. These are current players. These are guys who played for Nebraska a couple years ago. Just guys who we basically took a chance on and they didn't work out. You can't do that in the transfer portal if you're Matt Rule. And I like what he's doing right now, getting guys like Jamal Banks, getting guys like Dante Dowdle even, who isn't a sure thing, but he feels really good about him being so. So that's number 2, and that one's obvious. Now let's get into the more nitty-gritty. Number 3, you got to rebuild the trenches, man. That's how these teams win. Alabama, one of the best offensive lines in college football. Washington, same deal. Polynesia Pipeline up front. Michigan, same deal. Common theme. Georgia, same deal, right? You got to have a pipeline. Having a great wide receiver core, having a great quarterback, that's all fine and dandy. But if he's getting sacked 5 times a game, you're not going to win many football games. You got to rebuild these trenches. Matt Rule made a very controversial move when he got here to keep Donovan Raiola. It's paying off, given the fact that we landed his son at the quarterback spot. It's paying off, given that he's recruiting very well. Now it just comes down to one last thing, developing his guys, and hopefully that works out. And that also goes for the D-line as well. The D-line looked very good for Nebraska last year. You lose a couple guys. You got to keep rebuilding. You got to keep adding talent. Add some guys who can run that 4-4, run a 4-5. You got a lot of big nasties up front. Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmutcher. Get some guys who are very athletic. We saw a guy in Willis McGahee who we added, who I did a film breakdown of. That's another guy who can be an edge rusher, who can be athletic. So that's what I'm looking for them to add and basically dominate the trenches. So that's number 3 for Matt Rule. Now, number 4 and 5 are big. These are probably the biggest one. Number 4, give Raiola the best chance to succeed. I keep harping on this. That only goes for quarterbacks, that both goes for coaches and that goes for the players around him. Okay, you need to give him a competent OC and you need to give him a competent quarterback coach. We know his offensive coordinator is going to be Marcus Satterfield. He is not very liked in Nebraska. Okay, you got to turn things around. You got your quarterback, man. You got your quarterback. Now give him the best chance to succeed. Develop him. We know that Mark Satterfield has been done pretty well developing quarterbacks. When Spencer Rattler went to South Carolina, he basically turned around his career, made him one of the better players in college football. So we know he has had success. You have probably the most talented quarterback you've ever seen in front of you right now. See if you can do the same thing. And again, and our quarterbacks coach, we'll see who that is. Is that Dana Holgerson? Excuse me, I butchered his last name. Is that Glenn Thomas, right? We'll have a video coming out when that quarterback's job is delivered. But that being said, give Raiola the best coaches, guys who've been around the block a couple times, who have had success before. Give him guys that he can succeed with. And that goes the same thing with the players around him. You got to have a good running back core. Okay, the run game helps out the pass game. Give him good wide receivers. And the most important thing, like we just talked about, give him a good O-line. So Raiola, his success directly correlates to our success. We could have a really good quarterback and we'd be a solid team. You need an elite quarterback to make the college football playoff. Last thing, biggest one, win close games. I'm going to give you a stat real quick. If we won all of our close games last year, we would have been 10-2. Our only losses coming to Colorado, which we got blown out, and then Michigan. We would have been 10-2. If that happened in 2024, we would have probably made the college football playoff at 10-2. Can you believe that? Okay, it's that easy. Win your close games. We like to think that Matt Rule is a good game manager, head coach. We like to think that he makes good decisions at halftime and throughout the game, right? We like to think that he's a better coach than the coach on the other side of the field. If that's true, got to win these close games because that's what coaching really matters. Again, every game matters at this point in time. If you win those close games like I just talked about, you are going to be in a place to succeed. Let's look at Washington. Washington's not very talented compared to Alabama or Georgia. No one's disputing that. They don't have 5 stars everywhere. They're very well developed, granted, but yeah, they don't have those top end guys that you see every year coming out of high school. That being said, if you look through their schedule, they played a very hard schedule this year. They had close game after close game after close game, and they pulled every single one of those out. That's not because they're a bad team. That is because they have a great coach in Kalen DeBoer who knows how to win in the fourth quarter, who knows how to make adjustments at halftime. Okay, and right now, they're in a position to win the national title. And even if they don't win it tonight, That's still a huge accomplishment. I look at TCU from the year prior. Again, not the most talented team, but they had a great coach who won those close games for him. So, man, you've got to do that. And that's so frustrating about Matt Rule because he didn't do that his first year. So, I feel like I'm saying the obvious, but you got to win those close games. So, overall, if all 5 of those things happen, yes, Nebraska will go 10-2, 11-1. I don't want to say undefeated, but they want to be in a good chance to succeed. And real quick, before I end off this video, I know a lot of people, again, they're going to come in my comment section and they'll say, Wilson, we have not made a bowl game since 2016. How could you even possibly talk about the college football playoff? The reason why I'm possibly talking about the college football playoff is because we have Matt Rule as our head coach, who we like to believe is a rebuilder, is a great game manager head coach, and is a great developer. I believe we could potentially make the college football playoff because we have an elite quarterback by the likes we've never seen since Tommy Frazier. Okay, a 5-star recruit, potentially a generational recruit. And we're building this the right way through the transfer portal, high school recruiting, the coaching additions, and everything else in between. So I believe, yes, there is a chance Nebraska makes the college football playoff. Now, is it likely? I don't want to get hurt again, man. So I don't want to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to make the college football playoff in 2024. I'll tell you this, it's not happening in 2024. It's not happening. I wouldn't even say it doesn't happen in 2025. This could happen in 2026. Okay, there's a lot of time between then and now, so I'm not going to make a big claim, but one thing I want you to take away from this video is that, yes, it is possible for Nebraska to make the college football playoff if Matt Rule and Dylan Raiola do what they need to do, develop with each other, and go out there and win football games. Close, blowouts, doesn't matter. Just win, baby. So let me know down below, do you think Nebraska and Matt Rule can make the national championship or even the college football playoff with Dylan Raiola? And then, as always, just please subscribe. Please hit the like button. We have more content coming out all offseason long. You don't want to miss out on any of it. Enjoy the game tonight. I got the Huskies. I got Washington. Let me know who you got as well. But as always, go Big Red. Go Matt Rule. See you next one.